joining us for the newest edition of Straight Talk. We have with us once again our Mayor, Larry Martinez. We have a lot to cover today because it's been a while since we filmed, Mayor.
It's been a while.
And the city has been quite busy over the last couple of months. First and foremost, though, what's on lots of folks' minds is the city manager search. Now, I know we had a series of interviews. We had narrowed it down to a couple of, we don't want to refer to them as finalists, but we had a couple of individuals who came in for some secondary interviews. And then tell us what happened.
Well, basically, Nicole, you know, the city council's taking a really good approach at what they're doing to hire a city manager. As you well know, that is probably the most important job in the city of Alice. Next to the police chief, that is a critical role.
Right.
So the Alice City Council is taking a real positive approach at looking at attracting a city manager or bringing in a city manager. But they've not gotten to that point yet. You know, we've probably interviewed, I want to say, 6 or 7 people. I'm kind of lost count. But, you know, there looked like there was an opportunity. There were a couple individuals. They brought in for second interviews, as you well know. And they didn't feel that they were the right fit.
Okay.
So we're going to continue with the process as we speak. I realize that, you know, this needs to be done. It's been probably 6 months since we've done it.
It's been 6 months.
And I realize that. And I asked for patience from the city in regards to in that, but you know, this is a job that we need to be very careful with, and this individual is going to end up with us, has to know what's going on as far as what we're doing economic development wise, and of course the maintenance and operation of the city. So it's a crucial role that we need to fill, but we're going to make sure we have the right person that's in there.
Well, definitely. So what's going on now? We're continuing taking applications? That
is correct. At this point, you know, we have on our website the availability to apply. We also have on the TML website the opportunity to apply as well. So as the candidates come in, you know, we'll take a look at them. Of course, we do have that 5-year clause that they have to have experience with,
right?
Which we think is important. I can't remember the last time that the city of Alice actually hired someone that was a professional person. The council feels that is a real strong point that needs to be taken into account. So in looking at what the criteria is, and in conjunction with the 5-year requirement, we want someone that could just come in here and take off and say, okay, it's not on-the-job training. It's going to be a job that I know about, I have experience with, so that we can move forward, because there's a lot of things to do in the city of Alice.
So you don't really have a time frame per se. You're kind of waiting for that right fit, that right candidate.
Well, if you ask us about a time frame, I'll say yesterday, right?
Right.
But you know, it doesn't work that way, and it's a little frustrating, to be honest with you, but you know, we will work at it. We're continuing to have discussions about it with the city council, and you know, we've met pretty often in reference to all the interviews. So we will find someone ASAP that is the right fit for Alice and knows what we're doing, what our goals are and our objectives are, so we can move Alice forward. Very
good. It is important to note that while we've been out of a city manager for 6 months, we do have an interim in place, Hector Hinojosa.
That's correct.
And business is continuing in the city of Alice.
Yeah, everything's pretty much the same. I mean, you know, the people who do the work here are the workers. You know, the actual gentlemen and ladies that are on the floor doing the job. So that will continue to be done. There should be no reason for worry that things are being delayed or not done. We just have a lot of work, but things will continue to run. Alice, your trash will be picked up, your water will be there, everything's going to be in place, so no need to worry, but we are working towards that goal.
Very good, very good. Well, one new item that the city is working on, and you mentioned economic development, is streamlining the permit process for developers who come in and to build in the city of Alice.
Well, and not only the developers, Nicole, but also the builders, right? The developers and the builders, those are two distinct individuals. You know, builders are the individuals that come in and file permits so they can build homes.
Right.
Developers come in with the engineer and develop plats and subdivisions, so that way we can have builders that are going to build homes, right?
Right.
So, you know, two distinctions of what's going on in the city of Alice, but we do know that according to the marketing study that we just completed, we're going to need pretty close to 1,000 homes. So I think the council is in the same page that I am, that we need to work a little bit more efficient and better. We always want to, it's a process. We always want to do more and do better. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking at the streamlining of the process so that everybody's on the same page and we all know what's going on and how we do this process. Because here we are asking for new development, new homes, and then they come to the city, and the city says, well, I need you to go through this, this, and this. So, it's a twofold purpose. So we feel that it's important that we streamline that process to make it more business friendly, more consumer friendly. And, that's probably been the most part of our complaints is, well, this is going on because this guy said this, or vice versa, whatever department it might be. So we know that there's a better way to make it more efficient. We know there's a better way to make it more business friendly, and we know that we can do a better job. We're always going to be striving to do better. That's the bottom line.
Let me take it back just one quick step, because you mentioned the marketing study. The marketing study the mayor's referring to is a housing market study.
That's correct.
That was commissioned by the Jim Wells County Economic Development Corporation with the help of the City of Alice, Jim Wells County, and some private businesses, including, I believe, Spawn Hospital and, of course, the Alice Chamber of Commerce. Now, in that study, it showed that we are going to increase in Jim Wells County with as much as 7,000 jobs.
That's correct.
And then in the foreseeable future, and there's nowhere to put them.
That's correct.
And so we are in desperate need of housing.
When we first started this, what was it, back in 10 when the shell play was in line? You used to see maybe all these trailer camps with all these people that were in there because there's no housing. That's kind of moving away from that. If you see, not only in Alice, but in the surrounding South Texas counties, there's 21 counties in the Eagle Ford shell play. You'll notice that people are putting up more housing and putting up more infrastructure. Alice is in the same position.
Right.
So we're trying, as we speak now, we have a developer that's in place right next to where Bardot is, off of Stadium and Seabreeze.
Right.
So we've started that process there.
Right. There's a subdivision going in.
That's correct. Another subdivision off of Duval Street as well.
Right.
The apartment complex it's across from Chentis. So we're trying to meet those goals, and that's why we think the permitting process is important, because we need to keep up with that to make sure that the people who come work here live here.
Exactly, because it's important that they come and they work here because they'll spend their money, but we want them to stay here as well.
Right.
And we also want to offer, of course, our own local residents, more options as well, because the rentals in town, they're impossible to find. So beyond the new jobs that are coming in, there's still a need here as well.
That's correct. So we're always working towards that goal, and it's not going to happen yesterday. It's probably going to happen, but if we keep working at it and we start plugging at it, I think there's an opportunity for us to keep progress going.
Right.
So that's an important thing for the council. That's an important thing for the city. So we just will continue to work at it. We want to be, again, more efficient. To keep using the word efficient, but that's just the way it is in business,
Right.
So the council's taking a really good position to work towards that goal.
Right, and I know at the last city council meeting, Hector Hinojosa mentioned basically what the city has already come up with is kind of like a punch list.
That's correct.
Kind of like a one-stop shopping list for builders and developers so that everybody's on the same page and knows exactly what the process entails, what has to be turned in, the kind of time frames that are going on.
Yeah, time frames need to be included in there as well.
Right.
And that's the biggest concern that I have from the developers and the builders, is that it's taking too long to get that process done.
Right.
And we need to establish some timelines in there so that we can do that. Of course, from the city standpoint, let me make something perfectly clear as well. The city and its inspection department and the engineer department have to maintain those streets and those water lines and everything that goes with it. So when we issue permits and we do things, we have to make sure that those developers follow those guidelines.
Exactly. We will not be cutting corners.
No, we're not.
It sounds more like we're opening the lines of communication.
That's correct.
More, so that everybody's on the same page. And another item that was mentioned was Wednesday afternoon meetings. They're going to be set in stone every Wednesday afternoon for builders or developers to come in.
What we'll have is probably the inspection department along with engineering and everyone that applies to anything to do with building. Even the fire marshal is included in this meeting, because everybody needs to know what's going on every facet of what stage.
Right.
Whether it starts from the development side with the subdivisions and the engineering, all the way down to the plumbing inspector and the electrical inspector and all these individuals, because that's where I see some of the issues are.
Right.
Is that everybody's not in that room, they don't know, so they got to go ask. So why not put them all into a room and say, this is what's going on with this individual, this is what's going on with this individual. Maybe they can help each other and assist and do what they need to. So I think that's really important as far as the communication side is concerned.
So we're going to kind of eliminate the he said, she said aspect.
Absolutely.
Of the process. And then, of course, I understand the EDC would like to have some input as well.
I welcome the EDC. I welcome anybody from the City of Alice. That's the whole deal here, is that we want input. We want everybody to participate, give us their ideas and their suggestions, so that way they can help us implement a process. As we start this checklist, so to speak, that's just a start. We're going to have to define it and redefine it as we go through the process. Will there be some bugs? Probably. But the idea is, let's talk about them, let's get the bugs out and keep moving forward with the project.
Very good, very good. And I know that so far, this new streamlining process has been well received.
Yeah, I've had some really positive feedback from that. Everybody says, Larry, that's a great thing. We need to keep on doing that. So everybody's pretty optimistic about it, that we can do the right thing.
Very good. Speaking of development, how are things going with the West Side project with our natatorium?
It's been pretty good. I don't know if you've seen the timeline that's out there. I've been out there lately, but they got a roof up there and it's pretty well dried in. The rain kind of pushed us back a little bit. I know that we have a March 2015 completion date.
Okay.
But we're really pushing to see if we can get it in December. So that's working well. It's looking really, really nice. I'm pretty excited about the end product and finally getting an opening and doing something with it. So we're on track. Things are where we need to be at. Of course, we're still watching our costs. Everybody's saying, Larry, what's that going to cost us? No, it's still where we had on that budget item. So any opportunity that we get to lower that cost, we will look at that. Right. And we are, we don't have what they call a carte blanche. What was it that we're just signing a check and we take a look at that. So rest assured, the business community, that we are looking at what our budget is. We are looking at what our costs are, and any opportunity that we have to save money without cutting the project is where we're going to be at. When I say cutting the project, minimizing it. Okay, so it's working really well. We're pretty comfortable with it.
How are talks, or are there any talks with anybody to come in with that hotel convention center aspect of it?
Those are still in negotiations. It's a lot slower. I want it to be a lot faster than slower, but when you're talking of an initial $20 million, it's not just anybody that comes up and says, well, let me give you $20 million. There's a lot of negotiations that go with that. So we are in the process of still looking at that, and I'm hopeful that that can get resolved sooner than later. But we have to be careful what we get into, because we're making a commitment. So that is still being worked on. Nobody's leaving that out. Everything's still in place. There's nothing that's been changed. Okay, so well.
Right, and now some folks have some big plans for that area. I mean, there's talks about apartment complexes going out there, gated communities possibly coming in the future, and we did annex a good portion of that West Side area.
Yeah, probably about 350 acres.
350 acres.
Yeah, I don't think that's the last time that happened in Alice. I don't know. But that's the fun part about it, because everybody says, what, we need different restaurants, we need different businesses. And they're absolutely correct. I myself want that, like everybody else does. In my discussions with the development group and the individual that runs that development group, he is trying to finalize those deals. He won't tell me all the stuff, but he will tell me some of the things that he's looking at. So we feel that there's a good opportunity because of the annexation, because of the single member houses, and then of course apartment complexes. And businesses, retail businesses, right? So that is working as well. Again, that's all discussions. He's finishing up a master plan so that we can know what's exactly going to be there. And let me give you an example. We don't want, and then this is maybe a poor example, but I don't want a junkyard next to a possible Lowe's. That just doesn't match.
No.
So we have to be careful on what we do as far as what we plan and how we plan it, because the retail business people want something in conjunction next to their building that works for them.
Right.
And we have to be cognizant of that, know that that's how it works. So there's a lot of planning that goes with that, and we are in the planning stages, and the development group is working towards that goal as well.
Very good. Now, you were recently at an Eagle Ford Shale consortium in San Antonio.
That's correct.
And we all learned from that the Eagle Ford is expected to carry out to maybe like 2040.
Yes.
But beyond that, there's plays south of us, and of course into Mexico. So we understand that corridor there of 281, which is already quite busy, is going to get much busier.
Yeah, I went to that conference, and it was really nice because I actually got to meet a lot of individuals that are in the same business and having the same problems Alice are. So in visiting with them and sharing some of their concerns, of course our concerns as well, it gave us opportunity to kind of discuss things and say this is our plan and our goal from a regional standpoint, and met a lot of good contacts, a lot of individuals that want to come to Alice because they know that if and when that play does take place, which we feel pretty optimistic about, Alice will be right in the middle.
Right.
You know, people say that, you know, a lot of businesses have left Alice and gone to San Antonio. Well, I disagree with that. I think that there's been some lines that have gone there, but not to the degree where they've just picked up and left.
Right.
We still have the major employers here in town, and they know that once that does take place, and hopefully here really soon, then that will be a very instrumental part for Alice.
Right.
And where we need to be.
The shift will move back.
Oh yeah. There won't be enough people in Alice to be able to handle all the jobs.
Right.
And that's what we want, right?
Right.
So I was really thrilled to see that even Mexico, you know, what it would think, you know, since 1939, Mexico not revised their laws on drilling. Mm-hmm. PMEX controls everything that goes on with them. They've kind of laxed some of the regulations and are saying we want some of that to be done in Mexico. So you couple that with like Zapata, Rio Grande City, and where that play is,
right,
plus what they're doing over there, plus the fact that we have the Port of Corpus Christi that will be shipping gas, LNG gas, is a lot of what we're looking at from a regional standpoint that Alice will be able to capitalize on.
Right.
So about a year ago when I first came into the council, that was talk. Now it's not talk. Now it's more when you get state senators and the railroad commission people and the governor of Texas start talking about, you know that there's a play.
Right.
So that is really going to be really quick here, and we're optimistic that should start it pretty soon. And bottom line is, at the end of the year, Texas will be producing more oil than Saudi Arabia and Russia.
Right.
And what a great place to be at in Alice, Texas.
Which is the hub city.
Which is the hub city, right. So you're talking about the traffic that will be coming through here? Absolutely.
Absolutely.
But not only that 44, or not only 281, but also 44.
Right.
You know, you got that new steel plant that's coming in Rockport or Portland, those Chinese builders that are doing some stuff. So they also will play a role because some of their steel is coming from Mexico.
Right.
Right. So, you know, we're going to be in the traffic zone, and that's going to give us opportunities for distribution centers, being in the hub, opportunities for us to have storage facilities and work towards that.
Mayor, you mentioned that there is some concern that the major companies are leaving, or companies are moving to San Antonio or to Corpus Christi. But I think what's important to note, though, is that the individuals who work for those companies are still here. Number one, they still live here. But number two, what I've noticed and what we are seeing is this growth in support service type industries. Service for the oil and gas industries. You're seeing, you know, more people going out on their own, whether they're doing hot shotting or they're doing welding, or you're seeing this growth in town of these new businesses that are support services. So while some of these companies may be moving out, we're still seeing growth from within. Yeah,
you know, it's just like the person who does catering. You know, there's a lot of catering to be done. There's all these catering companies. They supply that service to them. Again, the welders. There's welders that are needed, or they're abundant. Truck drivers. God, there's no truck drivers in town here either. You know, so all the support services that apply to these companies are in demand. And as this gets bigger and better, it's going to be more demand. So we have to work not only with the individuals that we have, but people that are coming in. We have to work with training our workforce.
Exactly.
So, you know, here recently at the EDC meeting, the Alice Independent School District has come up with a plan on adding a curriculum for development of kids that might not be going to the 4-year plan of college, and bringing them in from a training aspect of what they need to be doing in the oil field. So that's going to be a really good program for the, I call them the youngsters, or the kids. What's the correct word for that, right? I want to be politically correct.
Youngsters.
Those individuals are going to be trained for these new jobs that we're going to apply. So I know that Laredo is doing that. Right. So we need to do that as well, because I want them to be trained here in Alice. Right.
And we're talking about courses in to be an electrician. We're talking about courses in pipe fitting, things that are oil and gas industry based.
So that will give us an additional workforce that we need to educate so that we keep up with the supply and demand.
Right.
So you got the educational side. You talk about the regional aspect of developing as a region. You talk about housing and what we do to streamline the process. Those are three big things that are the core of what Alice needs to be doing, and that is actually what we're working on as we speak.
Yeah, and so I think you would agree, and this has also come up in meetings, that we are at a pivotal point in which all of these entities must pull together to work so that we can capitalize on these possibilities and so that they don't pass us by.
No, well, actually, yes. We have to be working together. You know, when we talk about the school district, we talk about EDC, the chamber, Jim Wells County. That's what we talk about, working together, because we cannot do it alone, and we recognize that we work as a team. So it's instrumental and very important that we do that, because that's what takes us to the next level.
Right.
And I don't want to be behind that. I want to be ahead of it. Right. So. I've been real grateful for everyone that's participated and that I've talked to that really wants to help us out and do what we do to make it better. Right.
And talking about getting ahead of it, that brings us kind of back to the annexation in that area there by 281. Now, that annexation means what for the city of Alice?
Well, first off, it means more revenue.
Right.
Right. It means more opportunity, more businesses, quality of life issues, right? So with that comes a lot of things. Of course, that also means more police protection, more fire protection. So as we grow, and we're talking about growing, we need to look at some of those things that we're doing. So the number one source is revenue, so that we can attract more monies to add to our tax base.
Right.
And our tax base is what is going to make and keep our taxes low. So as we're contributing revenues and we're looking at new businesses coming in, we're also looking at how we develop that and strengthen what we have now and make better what we're getting tomorrow.
Right.
So there's a lot of cogs in this big wheel. You just make sure that you oil all the cogs so that the big cog will work, right?
And it's well greased.
It's well greased, very well greased, yeah. So it's a lot of work, but that's fun. Don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying that, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know, when we talk about the Alice Police Department and the role that they play, of course, that's essential.
Right.
I like the fact that, you know, we'll now have opportunities to be running traffic off of that side of town, or where we didn't have the opportunities, so that there's some things there that we can do to make it better as well. So. A lot of stuff.
Well, on that note, we're going to visit some about the Alice Police Department. And we actually have with us, joining us for this edition of Straight Talk, is our Interim Police Chief, Albert Martinez. So I want to welcome you to our show. I think this is a first for you to be here with us on Straight Talk. So thank you,
Nicole. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much for being with us. So the police department is, of course, one that's always in the public eye. You have the most important job in the city, and that's to protect us.
Yes, ma'am.
So along those lines, we know we've got the new area that they can patrol now with the annexation. But tell us a little bit about how things are going at the police department in general as far as providing protection for the city.
Well, we continue to provide police service to the community, the best that we can provide. We're fully staffed right now, Nicole. We do have openings in supervisor positions, which is corporals, sergeants, and a lieutenant position. The lieutenant position is currently staffed by an interim lieutenant, of course, and that brings my position as well as interim chief. I'm the assistant chief of the Alice Police Department, serving as the interim. So we're hoping to move along as far as the promotional exams, working with the human resource, city management, and getting the testing process going so that we can promote from our patrol officers up to corporal, and then from corporal positions, which we have 2 corporals,
okay,
up to sergeant, and then some of the sergeants promoted up to lieutenant.
Very good, very good. Well, you also
that would leave more openings for patrol officers, and we have additional officers working the streets.
Very good, and that's very important.
That's very important.
One item that's been a big talk of the town, or that's new, is the city council recently passed some new ordinances, and among those were a stiffer noise ordinance, of course the no smoking in public places, and the one that probably got the most attention was the no use of the cell phones or communication devices while you're operating your car. Now, I know your police department recently went through an orientation where they kind of got some more information, specifics about these new ordinances. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about the three of them, just to provide a little more information to the public at home. So one thing we need to make clear is if you're driving your car, you best not be on your cell phone.
That's right, Nicole. If you're operating your vehicle on a public street, it's best not to be on your phone. And if you are going to be on the phone, then use a hands-free device.
Right.
And that includes the mayor and the council.
That includes the mayor and the council.
And everybody.
So if you see them, call them in.
You will see some police officers out there that are using their cell phones, and as you all know, they are exempt from that, but we encourage our officers not to be using their cell phones. I mean, they use it for business, of course,
right,
law enforcement purposes.
We want to make that clear that if they're on their phone, it has to be for official business.
Right.
Right.
And they're also encouraged to get a Bluetooth or get a hands-free device. And the city administration is currently working on providing city staff, city personnel, essential city staff with Bluetooth to be installed in their vehicles. And we're hoping that that will be the same for our patrol officers and our patrol cars, and of course all our city units.
Right, right. Now, violating this new ordinance comes with a pretty stiff fine, and it's our understanding that the grace period is kind of passed for this ordinance. We expect that everyone should know by now that they cannot be on the phone, texting, and driving. One thing that did come up in the orientation that was very interesting was the amount of accidents that are caused by cell phone use. And by reducing that, how much more time your officers will have to patrol and protect citizens rather than responding to accidents that shouldn't happen now that folks aren't on their phones.
And that's right, Nicole. I mean, there'll be less distracted drivers out on the public streets, and it'll make Alice a safer place. I mean, they'll be more conscientious as to their driving habits, and they'll be more alert, and they'll be able to react, we're hoping, quicker.
And you know, Nicole, if I can chime in a little bit.
Of course.
I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about that because maybe the youngsters, right? The younger crowd thought it was real easy to text, and they get into a lot of accidents. And you'd be surprised the people that you would see, they were texting while they were driving.
Right.
And from a safety standpoint, all it took was one accident or one person to get killed to be in that place. So the positive feedback that we've gotten is people really wanted that, and they felt that it was important that we did that because it keeps the citizens of Alice safe.
Right.
And the police department's doing a good job of enforcing that. You know, our job, or the reason why we put that ordinance in there was not to punish people,
right,
but it's to make people aware that you need to be careful what you're doing when you're driving.
Right.
It doesn't take that long just to pull over and do what you need to do. So it's important that the citizens of Alice know that, because our job is not to give people tickets to raise money, it's to make sure that we're safe.
Right.
So
right.
let's make that real clear.
Yes, well, and I believe that our city attorney, Joe Otis, mentioned too that texting and driving or talking and driving is as bad as driving drunk, as far as your reaction times and your distractibility.
Because the first thing, of course, when you're driving under the influence of alcohol is your judgment's impaired, is the first thing. So your reaction, it's a lot less.
Right.
Slower.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct.
Now, I know that there have been notices printed, we've had articles done. What else is kind of going on to inform the public or remind them that that this is illegal now?
Basically, we've tried to cover our bases when it comes to that. I know that when they issue citations, again, there's a lot of people that, friends of mine come up to us, man, I didn't even know that was going on, Larry. Well, it's been going on for about 3 or 4 weeks, so you can't say that you don't know, right?
Right, and the defense, I didn't know about it, doesn't work. Right, that's
right.
That's clear.
That's right.
That's been made clear too. You can't say, well, I didn't know about it. That doesn't get you out of the ticket.
And we're in the process of putting up some signs as well on the entrances of coming in and out of Alice. But the people of Alice should really know that. I mean, it's pretty much the talk of the town. And Facebook's got all that stuff up,
yes.
right? I'm not a Facebook person, but I know that that's what people
Well, I know
say.
the Alice247.com Facebook really kind of blew up about the texting and driving. And it was a mixed bag. Some people liked it, some people didn't, But the bottom line was safety.
It is safety. That's the number one priority.
Right, right.
Keep the community safe, keep the citizens safe, and keep those that are coming through our community safe as well.
Right. Especially with the increase, we're talking about the increased traffic, you know.
Yeah, isn't it amazing that the traffic, and everybody says, the traffic in Alice at 12 and at 5 o'clock is a lot. For someone that comes from Austin or Houston, they're like, no, it isn't. But to us, it is, right?
Yeah.
And there is a lot of traffic. I mean, it takes you a while to get from one side of town to the other.
Sure.
So we just need to be more careful. There is an increased amount of traffic. So people don't understand that. And if you look, it's kind of weird, but if you look, there's a lot of people that are from out of state. I don't know if you've seen the license. I kind of look around, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of out of state people as well. They work here, right? So with the increased traffic comes increased concerns, comes increased meeting our safety standards and informing the people of Alice that, you know, we will issue you a citation if you don't follow the law.
Right.
So,
right.
As bad as they might sound, that's the way it is, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Another ordinance, of course, that's now in play, that was already in effect, but is tougher now, is the noise ordinance. I think we added a few extra elements to it. We made it so that an officer can be a witness to a noise ordinance violation, because there was some concern that residents, you know, didn't necessarily want to call in on their neighbors because they were afraid they'd find out and they feared retribution. And now you can call in, an officer can come out and say, for example, somebody's having a party and the music is too loud. And I believe the example that's been used is if, like, the officer can feel like the bass in his chest, then it's a violation, the music is too loud. And there's specific times in which it becomes a violation. I believe it's like 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, there's a time period.
7 in the morning.
Yeah. If the officer goes out there and it's 12 by night and you got a live band going, that means no, right?
Right.
That's a no-no.
That's a no-no. Well, and we have to be kind of leery about our next door neighbors and providing that, what's the word for it, privacy, or, you know, we have to understand that that person have to get up to go to work at 5.
Well, we need to respect one another.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Right. So it's important that we do that, but the noise ordinance inclusion of kind of lets the officers take a different look at different things as well. You know, there's these streetcars that go by that have really loud mufflers.
The loud mufflers.
And it could be at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know why they do it, but I guess that's the new fad or whatever the case might be. But it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and they're just accelerating down the street, and it is loud. It can wake anybody up. You know, right. So things like that. You know, again, talk about respect and what we do for one another. So we need to be aware of that, and that's basically what we're doing.
Right.
Trying to maintain respect.
You got those loud mufflers. You know, anything that's non-factory, I understand is.
Yes, anything that's non-factory, anything that's. I mean, they're listening to loud music. I mean, we've all heard it. We're at an intersection, and your car starts vibrating because the bass is so high. So that allows our officers to put them on the curb, talk to them. You know, it's the officer's discretion if he decides that he wants to write him a warning or he wants to proceed with a citation, which is a Class C misdemeanor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, what some people might not realize too is if your dogs are barking uncontrollably, that would also be a violation. You would be, you'd be ticketed for your dogs. You're expected to have them under control, which I know is hard. I mean, we all get that. We all understand that, because a lot of people have dogs in their backyards for safety. So you want them to start barking in the middle of the night if something's going on. And that's not necessarily what we're referring to. We're referring to probably annoying barking. Like it's hard to control a dog from barking. But if it's annoying and it's not allowing the neighbors to sleep, it's a constant problem.
It's a constant. Then, of course, the owner would have to try to come up with a solution to be able to deal with his pet. I mean, a lot of people have pets. We all love our pets, and we just need to do our best to make sure that they don't interfere with somebody else's peace and quietness.
Right.
Might have to buy some extra bag of doggy bones or something, right?
Something.
Yeah, that's going to be a hard one. That's going to be a hard one. But again, it's not for retribution towards these individuals. It's more of a let's try to fix the problem and do a little bit better. And I know our officers are pretty good about that. They're not going to be out there saying, let's go give these guys a ticket. No. That's not what the intent is. The idea is just to try to respect one another and do what we can to make it better.
Right, right. And the third ordinance that's come into play recently is more kind of a health-related ordinance in that we're no longer allowing smoking in public places such as the bowling alley or in restaurants.
That's correct.
And also, if you're smoking outdoors at a public place, you have to be 15 feet
From the main entrance.
from the main entrance
Right.
of the building. I think this ordinance, though, has also been very well received by the public. You know, a lot of people don't like to smell smoke when they're eating dinner.
Yeah.
Or don't like to walk into a building and have to walk through a cloud of smoke to get into a building. And of course, you can be cited again and be fined pretty significantly for violating that ordinance as well.
Yes, the fine is up to $500. It's from 25 to 500. Again, it's a Class C misdemeanor city ordinance. But it's to provide a healthier environment for everyone. I mean, some people are non-smokers and they don't want to be around smoke, and they're wearing dress clothes, or they walk into a place and they just don't want to get, you know, smelling like smoke. But you also respect the people who do smoke, and what I mean by that is that, you know, they know what they need to do is not be by the entrance or exit within 15 feet. And I think it's been well received in our community.
Yeah, it's done well. Again, it's kind of rude when you're in a restaurant. There's not that many restaurants, not only here in Alice, but other cities, that you finish eating and you light up a cigarette and there's someone next to you with a baby or kids. I mean, to me, that's kind of rude, you know, but from a safety standpoint, you want to provide that safe environment, or that safe, clean environment, so that we can all enjoy the air, right?
That's right. That's entirely true. Now, to be clear, bars, if they allow smoking is allowed in those bars, but it is up to the individual business owners. If they so choose to participate, they can make their bar a smoke-free environment. Is that correct?
That's correct. You know what I've noticed from in my conversations when we went to Chili's a couple of weeks ago, they actually liked it. They actually said that it seems like their revenue is increasing because people are going to the establishment knowing that there's not that smoke in that bar.
Right.
So the business people seem to be saying, wow, this is pretty good. We're making a little bit more money, which is pretty nice, right? So who knows how this is going to end up, but I think it's a real positive. You know, the city council has taken a real proactive approach where I've seen, I mean, we passed these 3 ordinances pretty quickly, right?
They passed very quickly, and I want to point out that they were all unanimous as well. Mm-hmm. And so they are the city council is making an effort to be more health conscious, I think, in the community, as well as being more aware of safety issues as well. So it did pass pretty quickly. I think as soon as they were presented, they were voted on that night. Pretty much,
yeah. You know, here we are promoting health in the city with what we do at the park.
Right.
So it's in conjunction with what we're doing from a safety standpoint. So again, Alice is saying we want to be safe, we want to be healthy, and we want to make sure that we do it all together as a group. And it seems to be working really well.
Right. And then, of course, it's the responsibility of the police department to enforce these new ordinances.
Yes, the police department along with the code enforcement department working together as a team.
Well, beyond the new ordinances that are in place, you can see just by driving around the community that there's an increased police presence still, and we like that, in the neighborhoods. But you've taken that a step further, and we actually can see officers positioned at the local parks as well.
Yes, Nicole. I mean, we have officers working the Anderson Park. They're out there on the mule. The Parks has provided us with an additional mule. So the department owns one, Parks owns another one. So we have officers at the Anderson Park, and then we have a park patrol civilian working the kickball fields.
Okay. Let's define the mule, right? The mule is a motorized vehicle, right?
Right. It's a Kawasaki and
somebody will ask.
Not a donkey.
Yeah, somebody will ask that question, right. But go ahead.
It's
like
our
an ATV.
ATV.
Yeah, ATV.
Okay.
All-terrain vehicle.
Yeah.
And so that's who we have out there. Of course, increased patrols decreases crime, prevents fights, disturbances, and just high visibility.
Right. Well, and of course, Anderson Park is so full of activity these days. You see people out there playing volleyball, using the trail, and then of course we've got league games going on as well. So it's a very busy area. So we do have these officers out there to maintain safety.
Yes, and they do make the rounds. They do check the lakes because there's activity going on at the lakes. There's practice, baseball practice. They check the Bobby Cuellar Park as well, and of course the Veterans Park gets patrolled by the ATV Park Patrol.
Very good, very good. Now, the police department stays really busy. I know that here recently there's been some information brought forth for City Council about some grants that the police department is seeking.
We have 2 grants. We have one that will be worked over the Memorial Weekend, and that'll increase patrol officers working click it or ticket. They'll be working to making sure that people are wearing their seatbelts, and of course, during that, of course, they'll be working the ordinances as well, making sure that people are not on their cell phones, and just making Alice community a safer place.
Right.
Not necessarily are the officers out there to write citations, but they can use their discretion. They can issue warnings in place of a citation. It's just to make the community aware that we're out there working and making Alice a safer place.
Right, very good, very good. One thing that you and I were talking about that I do want to take a quick minute to mention, because I think it's important that the public realize this, is that we are seeing a high use of synthetic marijuana in town. I know your officers are confiscating a lot of this during traffic stops, and we just want to remind residents that it is illegal.
Yes.
But beyond that, it's highly dangerous.
It's dangerous. I mean, it seems like it's more dangerous than marijuana.
Unfortunately.
Yes, unfortunately. Marijuana's been around for a long, long time, and of course, it is illegal. And the synthetic marijuana, or the synthetic use, is new, and the after effects is what we need to be watching closely, because it's just got different effects.
Right. Well,
and they could be permanent effects. Not that marijuana use doesn't have long-term effects, and it's not the gateway to drugs, but the synthetic marijuana is new, and the younger generation is using it a lot more, it seems, than the older generation, and parents need to be aware of that.
Right, right, and I guess one of the reasons why it is so much more dangerous is that it's packed full of all kinds of chemicals that we don't even know what all is in there. So just be mindful of that, parents, that, you know, not only is it illegal, it's highly dangerous for your child. And I do want to say that we did have one parent, I know recently, I noticed in the police blotter, actually called the police and reported her son because she had it. And that was that's a hard thing to do, but she probably did, she probably saved his life, and did a big favor for him. So we do want to remind individuals to please stay away from that. It is illegal. You will get arrested, and it is a drug charge. It
is a drug charge. And in addition, when we were talking about the grants, we do have the Border Star grant. We've had it for at least 4 years, and so that increases patrol not only during the day but during the night. So where we would have maybe 10 officers working the nights, well, you increase it by 3 more. So we'll have 13 additional. At no cost, of course, to the City of Alice, but it is a federal grant. I mean, somebody is paying for it. It's to combat narcotics, human trafficking, and also drug activity.
Very good. Well, your officers stay very busy, and again, they're extremely visible, which is important. It's very important. Mayor, is there anything you'd like to add about our police department?
I think they're doing a great job. A lot of people say, well, what's going on in the police department? I go the same that it's always been doing. It's the individuals that work that make that department. And, Albert kind of runs the group, but most of these individuals are pretty dedicated. They know what to do. They've been doing it for years. So I have no reservations as to them doing a great job. I've seen a lot of police presence. I've seen a lot of police officers getting involved in their communities and visiting with individuals, so people respect them. They're going to schools, participating in those type of functions. So, the hero policemen and the hero firemen are there, and they're showing that they're committed to the city of doing the right thing, of keeping us safe, but they're also doing the right thing of being part of community. And that's what a police officer does. And my hat's off to your department, Albert, for doing that great job. And I know that they'll continue to do that job as we move forward. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Very good, very good. Also, one other quick notice, the City of Alice did sponsor a hurricane safety section that will be out here shortly, because hurricane season does start June 1, and there will be copies of that magazine available here at City Hall for residents as well. And so we want everybody to be safe and prepared.
They need to pick up that magazine and pay attention to it, because you never know what situation can happen.
No.
Yeah, so we're actually going to go through a hurricane evacuation model. Was it next week, Albert?
On the 28th.
On the 28th?
Yes.
Gets us prepared.
Gets you prepared as well.
So we want everyone to know what we're doing, so that you know what to do, or they'll know what to do in the event that we have a situation like that.
Right.
So
Hopefully we won't. Hopefully we won't.
hopefully we will not. That's correct.
We could use some rain, but not everything else that comes with the hurricane. So thank you, gentlemen, both so much. We've
Thank you.
covered a lot of ground today. It was a very informative show. So thank you, Mayor and Interim Chief Albert Martinez, with us here today. And we hope you enjoyed this edition of Straight Talk, and we will see you next time.